A delivery driver running late spotted something glinting under a parked car. She crouched down and saw a bomb, wires, metal case, blinking red light. Her warning saved his life but put a target on her back. Now the bombers are hunting her, and he's using her as bait to catch them. Let's go back a week. Enjoy. Adana runs down the sidewalk. She's carrying a small box with a delivery service logo. She's 5 minutes late. Her route today is routine, passing through a quiet business district. It's always clean and quiet. Expensive cars are parked on either side of the narrow street. They're always there, as if no one bothers them. Adana glances at her phone, checks the address, and then quickens her pace again. Her sneakers click softly on the tiles. She thinks that if she drops off this package, she'll catch the bus and not be late for her second shift. A breeze rustles her short hair. She spots a black sedan. It looks new and very expensive, parked right under the no parking sign. Rich people get away with anything, flashes through her mind, and she runs past. Passing the bumper of a black sedan, Adana catches an unusual glint. It doesn't look like a shard of glass or candy wrapper. It's too smooth and matte, yet it clearly glistens in the morning sun. She slows her pace for a moment. The glint is coming from under the very center of the car, not far from the front wheel. Adana glances around. The street is empty. Not the car's owner. Not a single person on the street. She steps back and takes a closer look. It's clearly not part of the car. It's something foreign, attached to the underbody. A slight feeling of unease makes her lean over. Adana squats down, trying to get a better look at the object. She sees it more clearly now. It's a gray metal case, the size of a small book. A bundle of thin wires extends from it, and right in the center of this case, almost at the ground, a small red LED glows. It blinks, steadily and continuously, once, twice, pause, once, twice. This rhythmic blinking seems ominous to her. She's never seen anything like this attached to the underside of cars. It doesn't look like an anti-theft device. It's something else. She holds her breath, staring at this small red dot. Adana's thoughts race. She's only seen flashing lights like these in movies and news reports. This isn't a GPS, not a tracker. A flat, plastic-like block is connected to the wires. It all looks too complicated and too hidden. Her stomach turns cold. She understands. This isn't some random, forgotten part. It's a special device. It was intentionally placed under the car, and it's active. The relentless flashing tells her so. Her instincts scream for danger. She sits up abruptly and takes a step back from the car. Her heart is pounding in her throat. She needs to do something. She needs to tell someone, but who owns this car? At that moment, she hears the sound of a door opening behind her. Adana whirls around at the sound. 2 men emerge from the massive glass door of the office building. They walk toward the car. The first man, the older one, walks calmly and upright. His dark gray suit fits perfectly. His face is focused, and he stares off into the distance, lost in thought. Behind him, half a step behind, follows a younger man in a similar but simpler suit. His gaze never lingers. He quickly scans the street, glances at the windows, then at the sidewalk. His eyes meet Adana's for a moment, and there's no question or interest in them, only a quick assessment. Their footsteps are crisp and resonant in the morning silence. They approach a black sedan. The driver, Sung-hee, is already getting out of the car to open the back door for the older man. Adana's mind is blank. There's only the image, a flashing red dot beneath the car, and the 2 men about to approach her. Her body reacts of its own accord. She lunges forward, tossing the delivery box onto the pavement. "Stop!" Her voice is loud and sharp, breaking the silence of the street. She runs toward them, waving her hand. "Stop! Don't approach the car!" Both men freeze. The older one looks up at her, his eyebrows raised slightly in surprise. The younger one, Yongsoo, instantly shifts his stance. His body tenses, and he steps forward, placing himself between Adana and his boss. Yongsoo moves quickly and efficiently. He intercepts Adana before she can get close. He doesn't grab her, but his outstretched arm and wide stance create an impenetrable barrier. "Stop," he says, his tone even but firm. His eyes are cold and intent. He doesn't look at her face, but evaluates her hands, her jacket pockets, the trajectory of her movement. Adana tries to get around him, but he blocks her again, staying in her path. "Move away now," he says, his voice taking on a steely edge. Behind him, the older man, Seong-hwa, watches the scene silently. His expression no longer expresses surprise, but a calm, searching curiosity. Adana realizes she's not being heard. She sees Seong-hwa turn to head back toward the car. Panic grips her throat. She ignores the guard, stands on tiptoe to peer over his shoulder, and screams directly at Seonhwa, her voice breaking with tension. Your car! Underneath it! There's something there! A metal box with wires! And a red light that's blinking! She almost breathes the words, pointing a finger at the sedan. Yeonsu frowns, his disbelief growing. But Seonhwa freezes in place. He slowly turns his head from Adana to his car. His gaze loses its distraction and becomes sharp as a blade. He looks at his car, then back at the girl's worried face. He sees no deception in her eyes, only pure, uncontrollable terror. Songhwa doesn't move for what seems like an eternity to Adana. His gaze is completely focused on her. He doesn't look at her as a nuisance or a threat. He studies her. His eyes glide over her face, noting her eyes wide with fear, her pursed lips, the genuine panic that contorts her features. He takes in her simple jacket with the delivery service logo, the box abandoned on the pavement. His own face remains absolutely still, as if carved from stone. There is no fear or anger in it, only a cold, assessing clarity. Adana feels like this man sees right through her, reads her like an open book. Then, without changing his expression, he says one word, short and quiet, addressing the guard. Yos, ni mois, Youngsu. It's not a question. It's a calm command. Youngsu, hearing his name, hesitates for a moment. His gaze, full of distrust and suspicion, slides over Adana once more. He seems about to object, but years of discipline take over. He nods sharply. Don't move, he snaps at Adana, and his tone is clearly threatening. He carefully backs away from her, but keeps her in his field of view, out of the corner of his eye. Then he slowly approaches the black sedan. He doesn't bend down immediately. First, he scans the ground around the wheels, then squats a meter from the car and peers under it. His movements are precise and professional. He takes a small flashlight from the inside pocket of his jacket and turns it on. The beam of light picks out parts of the car's underbody from the darkness. He leans closer, his back tense. Adana freezes, holding her breath. She watches as the beam of his flashlight freezes in one spot. Adana sees what happens next clearly. Yeonsu's stern, distrustful face suddenly changes. Every muscle seems to go limp for a moment, then suddenly tense again. His eyes widen. The blood drains from his skin, turning his face gray and waxy in the morning light. It's not just fear. It's the shock of seeing something absolutely real and incredibly dangerous. He doesn't scream. He leaps away from the car like a hot iron, dropping to a low stance. He turns to Song Hwa, and his movement is sharp, impetuous. He takes 2 quick steps toward his boss, closing the remaining distance between them. He leans toward his ear. His lips barely move, his voice so quiet that Adana hears only an indistinct hiss. But from his furrowed brows, from the quick, fleeting glance he casts at the car and back at Song Hwa, one thing is clear. The girl wasn't lying. Confirmation is more terrifying than any fantasy. Song Hwa listens, his posture unchanged. Only his eyes grow even colder, even deeper. He nods slowly, just once, hearing Yeongsu's whisper. Seong Hwa doesn't look at the car anymore. His gaze shifts to Yeonsu, then to Adana, and finally to the driver, Sunghee, who stands frozen by the open door, unsure of what's going on. Seong Hwa's voice, when he speaks, is surprisingly calm and even. There's no panic or urgency in it. It's the same voice that probably gives routine orders in the office. That's it. Around the corner, now, he says. His tone brooks no discussion. He himself begins to slowly back away, without turning his back to the car. Yeongsu immediately takes a position next to him, guiding Song Hwa with one hand and gesturing for the others to follow with the other. Adana, still paralyzed by the sight of the guard's face, automatically takes a step back, then another. Sunghee, finally realizing it, throws the car door open and walks quickly toward them. The entire group, maintaining an unnatural silence, retreats to the edge of the building. They round a brick ledge, and now the black sedan is hidden from them by the wall. Only here does Song Hwa stop. Once they're relatively safe, Yeongsu acts with lightning speed. He takes 2 steps to the side, but remains within Song Hwa's line of sight. He pulls out a different phone from his pocket, not his personal one, but a plain black one. He dials a number that seems to consist of very few digits. The phone connects almost instantly. Urgent, single target. Category 1, threat confirmed under vehicle at main entrance. His voice is completely different now. It's not a human voice, but the voice of a machine. Clipped, without intonation, full of specifics. He pronounces the exact address. A full perimeter sweep and diagnostic is required, immediately. An unrelated witness is on site. I'm monitoring. He listens for a few seconds, his face expressionless. Acknowledged. He hangs up and just as quickly puts the phone away. His eyes return to Adana, and that same hard, assessing gaze returns. Silence falls. Somewhere in the distance, the city hums, but here, around the corner of the building, there's a hollow, awkward silence. Adana leans her back against the cold brick wall. Her knees tremble slightly. She looks at Song Hwa. He stands straight, his hands clasped calmly behind his back. He stares off into space, his face a mask of complete composure. Young-soo stands with his arms crossed over his chest, his eyes constantly scanning both ends of the alley. Sung-hee smokes silently, his hands also shaking slightly. Adana realizes that the boundary of her ordinary life remains there, on the sidewalk, next to the abandoned box. She is here now with these people because she saw a blinking dot. She has entered something very large and very dark. The thought makes her uneasy. A few minutes pass. Song-hwa slowly turns his head in her direction. His searching gaze returns. "What's your name?" he asks. His tone is polite, even gentle, but beneath the gentleness, there's a steely undercurrent. Adana flinches in surprise. She wasn't expecting the usual question. "Ah, Adana," she breathes. "Adana," he repeats, as if testing the sound. "What were you doing here, Adana?" Adana takes a deep breath, trying to compose herself. She knows it's best to speak directly and simply. "I'm a delivery driver. I had a delivery to the house next door. I was running late, so I ran. I always take a shortcut through this street." She speaks quickly, her words slurring slightly. "I was running, and I saw something shiny under your car. At first, I thought it was trash. Then I leaned over and saw this box. And a red light. It was blinking. I've seen things like that, on TV. I knew it was something bad. And then you came out." She trails off, clasping her hands together to keep them from shaking. She has nothing more to say. The whole story can be summed up in a few sentences. She was simply in the right place at the wrong time and wasn't indifferent enough to pass by. She looks at Song-hwa, unsure of what to expect in response. Before Adana can even process what Song-hwa's response might be, a new sound echoes from the street. It's the quiet but insistent hum of several engines. The sound approaches quickly. 3 identical white vans emerge from around the corner of the building, one after another. They bear no identifying marks, logos, or license plates. They stop on the street, blocking traffic in both directions. The van doors open simultaneously. People emerge from them. There are about 10 of them. They are dressed in identical dark blue uniforms without insignia. On their heads are helmets with darkened visors. They don't look like police or rescuers. Their movements are sharp, synchronized, and completely silent. They don't speak. One group immediately surrounds the black sedan, forming a wide perimeter around it. The others begin quickly inspecting the surrounding cars, peering into doorways, and scanning the windows of the houses opposite with special devices. One of them, apparently the leader, breaks away from the group and walks quickly toward Dream Hwa and his people. The man in the helmet approaches and nods briefly to Song Hwa. There's no greeting. He says something very quietly, his voice muffled by the shield. Song Hwa simply nods in response. Then he turns to Adana. "Come with me," he says. It's no longer a request, but a statement of fact. Young-soo gestures for them to follow and goes first. They don't go outside, but re-enter the building through the back entrance, which Sung-hee promptly opens with a keycard. They walk down an empty, bare-walled hallway and up a flight of stairs. Young-soo opens the door to a standard office. Inside, there's nothing but a large desk, a few chairs, and a curtained window. The place smells of fresh paint and dust, like a space that's not being used. "You wait here," says Yeon-soo and moves to the door, taking up a position outside. Sun-hwa enters, takes one look around, and pulls out one of the chairs for Adana. He remains standing, leaning against the edge of the table. Adana slowly sits down. Now she is completely cut off from the outside world. The silence in this empty room seems even louder than outside. Several long minutes pass. Song-hwa doesn't move. He stares at the closed door, his thoughts elsewhere. Then he moves to a small cooler in the corner of the room, which Adana hadn't noticed at first. He picks up a paper cup and fills it with cold water. He approaches Adana and hands it to her. His movements are precise and unfussy. Adana hesitantly accepts the glass. The water is icy. She takes a small sip, and it helps clear her throat, which is tight with fear. "Thank you," Song-hwa says quietly. He doesn't say it as a formality. The words carry weight, like a statement of fact. He looks at her directly. You've shown great consideration. And decisiveness. Adana simply nods, unsure of what to say. She doesn't feel like a hero. She feels trapped. Yeonsu appears in the doorway. He doesn't go inside, addressing only Songhwa. May I? He asks, his gaze sliding over Adana. Songhwa gives a barely perceptible nod. The situation is under control. They're working, Yeonsu begins. Then he pauses. His face tightens again. But that's too much of a coincidence. She shows up at precisely this moment. She sees something that's almost impossible to spot while running. And she's the one you'd least suspect. A simple courier. He says this without looking at Adana. But every word is aimed sharply at her. The enemy could have planned this move too. Send someone who would accidentally discover everything, to gain trust, to be nearby. A heavy silence falls over the room. Songhwa listens to him without interrupting. His face betrays no thoughts. He slowly turns his head from Yeonsu to Adana, who stands motionless with a paper cup in her hands. The same cold, analytical glint from outside returns to his gaze. He doesn't reject the guard's words. He weighs them. Songhwa slowly looks away from Adana and back at Yeonsu. For a few seconds, a tense silence reigns in the room, broken only by the faint hum of uniformed workers outside. Your doubts are logical, Yeonsu, Songhwa finally says. His voice remains calm. They need to be taken into account. He turns his entire body toward Adana. He doesn't look hostile, but there's no friendliness in his posture either. It's the stance of a man conducting business negotiations. Adana, we're in a unique situation right now. The people who did this, he gestures slightly toward the window, have failed to achieve their goal. They'll be analyzing their failure, and if they learn of your existence, you'll become both a witness and a nuisance. And perhaps even the key to me, if they decide there's a connection between us. He pauses briefly, letting her take his words in. So I'm offering you a choice, but really there's no choice. You remain under our protection, until we figure out who did this and are sure they're of no interest to you. He says this as if it were self-evident. It's not an offer of help. It's a statement of the new order of things. Adana listens, and her initial fear gradually gives way to a wave of protest. Under protection, she hears captivity. Her life, her work, her ordinary concerns, all of it crumbling because of one chance glance under a car. No, she blurts out. She sets the glass of water on the table. Her voice is shaky, but there's determination in it. Thank you, but no. I was just passing by. I didn't see anything. I don't know anyone. I'll go home, and all this will be forgotten. That's your problem. Songhwa doesn't look surprised. He even nods slightly, as if he expected such a reaction. Are you sure you were just passing by? He asks softly. Imagine their point of view for a second. They're watching this building. They see their plan unravel at the last second. And they see a young woman in a courier's jacket shouting something to me and my men. And then we all hurriedly back away from the car. Their cameras or a spotter could have been anywhere across the street, in the window, in the car. They've memorized your face, Adana, your jacket, your figure. They're already looking for you. Not to say thank you. His words fall like heavy stones. Adana wants to protest, to say he's making it all up to scare her. But she remembers the empty street. She remembers that she really was screaming and waving her arms. She was in the open. And if someone was following the car, Songhwa's logic becomes inexorable and terrifying. She remains silent. All her arguments crumble before the simple, monstrous fact. She could be seen. The fear she felt toward the device beneath the car is now replaced by another, more chilling fear, of being an invisible target for invisible people. I need to go to work, she says weakly. But it's no longer a refusal, but a pathetic attempt to cling to normality. Hua replies immediately, without raising her tone. Seeing that her resistance has been broken, he softens his approach. It's not forever. For a few days. Until we get some initial information. We have safe houses. You'll be comfortable. You'll have food. Everything you need. This isn't a prison, Adana. It's a precaution for your own safety. After we assess the situation, you can return to your life. If it's safe, he looks at Yeonsu and nods briefly. Adana no longer protests. She feels cornered. Compliance seems the only sensible way out of the nightmare she's trapped in. Half an hour later, she's escorted through an underground garage to another, nondescript car. Yeonsu drives her. Ha remains in the building. The car drives for 20 minutes through unfamiliar neighborhoods and stops at a modern apartment complex. The middle-floor apartment is spacious, clean, and completely impersonal, like a room in a fine hotel. Food is stored in containers in the kitchen. Yeonsu checks all the rooms, shows her how to lock the triple lock door, and leaves a simple phone on the table. "This number is for me only," he says. "Don't go out, don't open the door for anyone. They'll contact you tomorrow." He leaves. Adana hears the locks clicking outside. She is left alone in the silence of a strange, safe cage. The night in the impersonal apartment drags on painfully long. Adana can't sleep. She tosses and turns on the unfamiliar sofa, listening to the quiet sounds of the city at night outside the window. Every creak of the elevator or step in the hallway makes her shudder. She feels simultaneously trapped and protected, and these two sensations war within her. Around 3 in the morning, the phone Yeonsu left behind vibrates. Adana grabs it. An unknown number appears on the screen. "This is Yeonsu." His voice is flat, devoid of greeting. "I'm reporting. 2 unknown men were spotted near your house this evening. They were asking questions of the neighbors and showing a photo on their phone. The description matches your appearance. They claim to be delivery service employees, but their identification is not being verified." Adana freezes, clutching the device in her sweaty palm. The cold horror Songhua spoke of becomes tangible. "Your apartment is untouched for now, but you can't go back there," Youngsu continues. His tone is businesslike. "That confirms the theory. You're now on their radar. Follow the rules. Don't try to contact anyone. They'll be in touch with you in the morning." He hangs up without waiting for an answer. Adana slowly lowers the phone. Songhua's offer no longer seems like paranoia or a ploy. It was a precise calculation. Someone really is looking for her, and they've come right to her doorstep. The feeling of unreality gives way to simple, primal fear. She wraps herself more tightly in the blanket, a chill radiating from within. In the morning, when the gray light barely penetrates the blinds, a quiet but distinct knock on the door echoes through the apartment. Adana wakes from a restless slumber. Through the peephole, she sees Songhua. He is alone. He is holding 2 paper bags. Youngsu stands a little further away in the hallway, watching the stairwell. Adana, after a moment's hesitation, unlocks the numerous locks. Songhua enters, nodding his head in greeting. He looks like he's just spent a normal night at the office, freshly shaved, wearing a spotlessly clean but different shirt and jacket. "Good morning, Adana," he says, politely, as if to a colleague. "I brought breakfast. I hope you don't mind." He walks into the kitchen, unpacking bags to reveal containers of still warm rice cakes, fresh fruit, and a thermos of tea. His actions are simple and untheatrical. He doesn't look like a stereotypical mafia boss. Rather, he looks like a very busy but well-mannered man doing his duty. Adana sits silently across from her. They eat breakfast in silence. Songhua eats little, mostly drinking tea. He doesn't ask unnecessary questions. His calm has a calming effect on her. Gradually, her tension fades. "You always do this yourself?" She can't stand the silence. "What exactly?" he asks again, looking up at her. "Bring food to the people you are hiding." Songhua tilts her head back slightly. "No, not always. But you're not the people you hide. You're someone who unwittingly interfered with my affairs and got into trouble because of it. That comes with obligations." He says this without pathos. For him, it's simply an axiom. This direct and honest approach gives Adana her first tentative feeling of trust. He's not trying to appear kind. He's simply following his inner code. When breakfast is over, Songhua gathers up the containers, his movements slow. He looks out the window, as if choosing his words. "Yeonsu informed you about his visit to your house," he states. It's not a question. Adana nods, feeling the chill in her stomach again. This proves the information leak occurred quickly. Their observer was nearby and worked professionally, he continues. The device itself, located under the car, has already been seized and examined by our specialists. He pauses, assessing how many details she should know. It was very high quality, not a homemade product. Special explosives, magnetic fastening, a sophisticated timer with backup systems. You don't buy things like that on the black market. They're either stolen from special warehouses or ordered from very specialized professionals. This means the customer has serious connections, resources, and motivation. And now he knows his plan failed because of a random female courier. He turns to face her, his eyes hardening. These aren't petty hooligans, Adana. These are organized, dangerous, and now probably very angry people. Their search for you isn't just an attempt to silence a witness. You're their weak link, a potential key to me. As long as they're active, your old life is closed to you. I'm sorry. There's no emotion in his voice, but a statement of hard fact. The device's professionalism makes the threat tangible and concrete. The comfortable apartment suddenly feels like a cage again, but now Adana understands that the walls of that cage may be the only thing standing between her and those seeking her with cold, professional determination. After Songhua leaves, Adana is left alone with new thoughts. She slowly clears the table and washes the cups. Her fear gradually recedes, giving way to curiosity. She begins to analyze Songhua's behavior. He doesn't look like a gangster from a movie. He lacks brute force, ostentatious cruelty, or vulgar manners. Even Yongsu, his bodyguard, doesn't act like a thug, but like a highly trained security professional, cold, focused, and efficient. Song Hua himself speaks quietly and politely, constructing his sentences like a man accustomed to being listened to. His gestures are restrained. He doesn't fuss. Even when he reveals frightening things, he does so with the detachment of a surgeon making a diagnosis. He brought breakfast himself and cleaned up after himself. These are small but significant details. Adana thinks about her previous job, about her managers and clients. Songhua reminds her of the most successful and most reserved of them all, someone who makes decisions that affect many lives, but whose face never betrays emotion. The only difference is in the scale and the specific contracts this man enters into. He looks like the owner of a very complex, perhaps shady business, one that operates not through shouting and threats, but through absolute control, calculation, and equally absolute emotionless loyalty. This thought doesn't make him less dangerous, but it does make him more understandable. You can deal with him if you understand the rules. For now, she doesn't know what those rules are. That evening, dinner arrives. This time, it's not Songhua, but an unfamiliar driver. But an hour after the delivery, there's a knock at the door. Songhua is back. He doesn't come in, just asks if everything is okay, if they need anything. Adana, plucking up her courage, invites him in for tea. He hesitates for a moment, then nods and enters. They're sitting in the living room. The city lights are coming on outside the window. The silence between them is no longer so awkward. Adana suddenly asks. The question had been building inside her since that morning. Your guard was right. It all seemed like a suspicious coincidence. You didn't know me. Why didn't you think I was part of this plan? Songhua puts down his cup. He looks at her, his gaze becoming more intense, but not hostile. I didn't believe the situation. I believed your eyes, he says simply. That moment on the street, when you screamed, there was pure, uncontrollable terror in your eyes. This isn't acting. You can't convincingly play animal fear for someone you're meeting for the first time. You weren't looking at me, trying to impress or gain anything. You were looking at the car, and in your eyes, there was only one thought. Something terrible is about to happen. Professional actresses or agents don't work like that. They always have an inner calculation, a tiny bit of control that I can detect. You didn't have that. He pauses briefly. I've been reading people for years, not by their words, but by their eyes, by the micro-expressions they themselves don't notice. Eyes don't lie in moments of true shock. Yours didn't lie. That's why Yongsu tested the device, not you. His job is to suspect everyone. My job is to see the difference. Adana listens, and a strange feeling comes over her. It wasn't courage that saved her, but her own genuine panic, which he considered authentic. It's both a relief and a little humiliating. And what did you see in the eyes of those who did this? She blurts out. Songhua freezes for a moment, something cold and razor-sharp flickering in his eyes. I haven't seen them, he replies quietly, and that makes them more dangerous. Faceless professionalism is the most terrible kind of enemy, but now, thanks to you, they have a face, yours. And that's a mistake on their part. Their conversation is interrupted by Songhua's phone vibrating. He stares at the screen, his face turning stony. He stands up. I need to answer. He steps out onto the balcony, closing the glass door behind him. Adana sees his silhouette in the darkness. He speaks quietly, his posture upright and still. The conversation lasts no more than 2 minutes. When he returns, there's no trace of the relative openness he'd just experienced here. He's completely closed off and focused again. New information from Yonsu, he says, not sitting down. We're receiving signals through our channels. Someone is actively searching for a courier girl who worked in the area of the incident. They're not just canvassing your home, they're checking all the delivery services in the area. They're doing it smartly, through front companies, offering a reward for lost items found. But a pattern is emerging. He looks straight at Adana. They're not just checking the area. They're conducting a systematic search. That means they have the resources to carry it out broadly, and that they won't back down. You've gone from being a bystander to a priority target for them because you disappeared, and only those hidden by powerful people disappear. Your disappearance has confirmed your value to them. Adana feels the floor shift beneath her. All day she's been trying to convince herself that this is just a temporary setback. Now she understands. Her old life isn't just temporarily closed. It may have been destroyed. The forces at play are too powerful. What now? She forces out. Now we're changing tactics, says Songhua. The first hint of something resembling determination can be heard in his voice. Passive defense only delays the problem. We need to be more proactive. But for that, I need your help, Adana. He doesn't specify what kind of help this is, but his tone makes it clear that the offer that follows won't be for just one night in a safe apartment. Songhua doesn't sit back down. He stands in the middle of the room, his figure straight and still. His gaze is focused somewhere outside the window. But Adana understands he's looking not at the city lights, but at the chessboard in his head. They're systematically searching for you, he says, returning to his thesis. His voice is quiet, but every syllable is clear. This is both a weakness and an opportunity. A weakness because they're forced to be proactive, expend resources, and show themselves. An opportunity because an active adversary can be anticipated and targeted. He slowly turns to face Adana. Until now, we've been playing a reactive game. We've been waiting for their turn, strengthening our defenses. That gave them the initiative. Now we're taking it back. We're exploiting the fact that they're searching. If they're so determined to find the courier girl, we'll give them the opportunity. There's no excitement or bravado in his words. There's the cold calculation of an engineer reworking a circuit. But how? Adana hears herself say. We control information about you, explains Songhua. We know where and how they're searching. That means we can direct that search in the direction we need. Create a leak. Give them a tip that you've appeared somewhere. And when they come to follow up on that tip, we'll be ready for them. Yongsu enters the room, as if from the shadows. He had apparently already been in the next room and overheard the conversation. His face, as always, expresses skepticism. It's dangerous, Yongsu says to Songhua, but his gaze is boring into Adana. She's untrained. Any unforeseen situation, any mistake on her part, and the plan will fall apart. Or worse. Songhua nods, accepting the objection as part of the equation. Right. So the plan isn't based on her skills, but on a clear scenario and maximum control on our part, he says. Then he turns back to Adana, his tone becoming businesslike, like at a briefing. The plan is simple. We choose a public but controlled location, a shopping street during rush hour. We create a cover story. You were hiding at a friend's, you've run out of money, and you urgently need to get a new delivery order. Information leaks through a channel we control that you'll be at a certain place at a certain time to meet an agent for new documents. Adana listens, fascinated. You'll show up there for exactly 5 minutes, wearing clothes similar to what you were wearing back then. You'll act naturally, waiting, looking at your phone, looking a little scared. The entire square will be saturated with our people. Vendors, passersby, drivers, all of them ours. Every square meter is under surveillance. The enemy's goal is to make sure it's you, and either capture you on the spot, which is unlikely in a crowd, or more likely, to track you and lead you to me or our base. Once their observers reveal themselves, our capture team will isolate them. Your role is to be a visible and predictable target for a short, strictly limited period of time and space. What if they don't come? Adana asks. Then we'll try again later, somewhere else. But they'll come, Songhua says confidently. They've invested too much in the search. Their professional pride won't allow them to ignore such an obvious lead, and that would be their mistake. Yonsu frowned. What if they have their own snipers? Or will they decide to act harshly despite the publicity? We're eliminating potential lines of fire. A crowd is their best armor. Chaotic actions in a crowded place aren't their style. They're quiet professionals. They'd prefer to stalk and kidnap in a secluded area. And wherever they plan to do it, our ambush will already be waiting. Songhua counters. Every word he says is measured, every counter-argument considered. Silence falls in the room. Song, Hua, and Yonsu look at Adana. Now the decision is hers. She understands that technically she has a choice. She can refuse, stay in this apartment indefinitely, live in fear until these people find her, or until Song Hua eliminates the threat through other means, which could take months or years. But there's really no choice. Passively waiting within 4 walls is a slow torture. The thought of being hunted won't give her a second of peace. This plan, no matter how terrifying, is action. It's a chance to stop being a hidden victim and become an active participant in helping solve the problem. Even if her role is merely to act as bait, she sees Songhwa's logic. The plan seems meticulously thought out, and there's a strange comfort in his cool confidence. He's not promising it will be safe. He's saying the risk will be as controlled as possible. She remembers the horror of that morning, the blinking red dot. She remembers the fear when Yeonsu reported strangers at her house. This fear sits inside her like a cold stone. And the only way to get rid of this stone is not to hide from it, but to face it, under the protection of people who, she now understands, are experts in this dark world. She exhales slowly. She raises her head and looks first at the wary Yeonsu, then at the imperturbable Songhwa. "I agree," she says. Her voice is quieter than usual, but there's no tremor in it. "What do I need to do?" Songhwa nods slightly, almost imperceptibly. Something that could be taken as approval flashes in his eyes for a moment. Yeonsu turns away, his face still grim, but he no longer objects. The plan is set in motion. "Okay," says Songhwa. "Then let's begin preparation. Yeonsu will explain everything to you step by step. You'll need to memorize every gesture, every second. The better you play your part, the safer it will be for everyone. And the sooner you can return to your life." Adana nods. She no longer feels cornered. Now she has a mission. A scary, dangerous one, but her own. She's stepping into the game. The next 2 days are spent in monotonous, intense preparation. Adana is not being coached by Yeonsu, but by someone else. A woman in her 40s with an expressionless face and a calm voice. Her name is Mia. She explains everything slowly and clearly, like an instructor on a simulator. First, they disassemble the communication device. It's not a phone, but a small, flat box with a single button and a thin cord. Mia shows how to attach it under clothing on the chest where it won't be found by a casual inspection. "This isn't for conversation," Mia says. "It's a beacon. If you press the button once, it means everything's fine, but you're worried. If you press it twice in a row, it means you see a direct threat. Someone's coming for you. Then our people around you will start closing in. If you press it 3 times, it means you're being grabbed or you're losing consciousness. The signal is continuous. Then the reaction will be instantaneous, but you shouldn't press it 3 times. That's an extreme case." Adana repeats the actions blindfolded until her fingers find the button automatically. Then they move on to the scenario. Mia describes the place, a small, busy square with a bench by a fountain. She shows photos from every angle. Adana is supposed to exit the metro, buy a glass of juice at a kiosk, and sit on a specific bench. She is supposed to hold a green bag, an identification mark for both friends and foes. She is supposed to sit there for exactly 4 minutes. She is supposed to look at her phone, pretend to text, and occasionally glance around nervously. After 4 minutes, she is supposed to get up and walk back to the metro the same way. You don't look for enemies with your eyes. You won't see them. Your job is to be natural. You're a scared girl, waiting for someone and worried. Nothing more. We control everything else. Every step, every turn of the head is practiced to the point of automatism. Mia asks unexpected questions. What if a child falls in front of you? What if the police approach you? What if it starts raining heavily? Each question has a clear answer. Help the child up and continue on. Show the police the pre-prepared fake residence documents. Pick up the umbrella, it's in your bag, and stay put. By the end of the 2nd day, Adana feels like a programmed robot. Fear recedes in the face of fatigue and concentration. She's ready. The hour X arrives at lunchtime. The square is truly teeming with people. Office workers rush for a snack. Tourists take photos. Children run around the fountain. The air hums with voices, music from cafes, and the hum of cars. Adana emerges from the underpass. She's wearing a blue jacket, similar to the one she was wearing that day, and jeans. She's carrying a green bag. Her insides tighten into a cold knot. She feels thousands of eyes on her, though she knows it's paranoia. She goes to the kiosk and buys juice, just like she was taught. Her hand doesn't shake. She moves toward the bench. She sits down, puts her bag down next to her, takes out her phone. 4 minutes. She starts counting down in her head. Life is bustling around her. Young people are laughing. Somewhere, street vendors are arguing. She casts a quick, nervous glance over her shoulder. She sees only indifferent faces. 2 minutes pass. Nothing. She presses a button under her jacket. The signal is, everything's fine, but I'm worried. 3 minutes into the film, Her gaze accidentally catches a man in a gray windbreaker. He's standing by a newspaper stand, but he's not looking at the papers. He's looking straight at her. Their eyes meet for a split second. He doesn't look away. His gaze is firm, searching. It's not the gaze of a passerby. Adana's spine. She looks down at her phone, her fingers trembling over the screen. She feels his gaze on her, like physical pressure. Her finger reaches for the button to double-click, but she stops. The instructions were clear. Direct approach, attempt contact. For now, he simply watches. She holds out. She raises her head and looks around again, this time with more obvious concern. The man in the gray windbreaker is gone. He's disappeared into the crowd. 4 minutes pass. Adana stands up. Her legs feel a little weak. She walks back to the subway, not quickening her pace. Every nerve is on edge. She waits for a hand on her shoulder, but nothing happens. She descends into the subway, walks down the corridor, and enters the vestibule of the service room she was shown. The door closes. She leans against the wall and trembles, releasing the panic she's been holding in. A minute later, the door opens. Young-soo comes in. His face is focused. One confirmed observer, male, gray windbreaker, contacted the spotter after you left. Our guys are behind him. We're following. You did it, he nods to her. And there's something of professional recognition in that nod. It turns out that leads are a whole operation. The observer led them not to the leaders, but to a contact. He, in turn, tried to escape to the outskirts, to an old industrial district. There, in an abandoned workshop, a group of 3 people was waiting. Songhwa's ambush worked perfectly. A short, brutal skirmish ensued. No gunfire, only surprise, numerical superiority, and the professional suppression of resistance. But the main discovery came later. When Young-soo began interrogating one of the captured men, something unexpected emerged. The man knew not only Songhwa's travel schedule, but also internal communication codes known only to a select few. The traitor was inside. It turned out to be not one of the guards, but an employee of the import company's logistics department, a man with an impeccable track record who had access to data on company vehicles and routes. His motive was old debts to a rival group. 2 days after the surgery, Songhwa returns to Adana's apartment. He looks tired but satisfied. The threat is neutralized. The chain of command is broken. The source is sealed. The man who was looking for you is no longer a problem, he says. Your courage has given us not only their agents, but also a rotten apple in our own basket. For that, we owe you a special thanks. Adana listens, and a huge weight begins to fall from her shoulders. Can I go home? She asks quietly. Songhwa slowly shakes her head. Your home? Your old job? That's a point in the past. Too many people connected you to that history. Going back there is unwise. But you have a choice. He puts a thick envelope and a folder with documents on the table. There's enough money here to start a new life in another city. New documents that are completely legal, and a letter of recommendation to a reputable transport company in another region. A dispatcher position is waiting there. Stable, normal work. No one will ask unnecessary questions. Adana looks from the envelope to his impassive face. Is this the ransom? She blurts out. This is justice, he corrects. You lost your life because of my actions. I owe it to you to give you the chance to build a new one. A better one, if you want. It's my duty. He gets up to leave. He turns around at the threshold. You did the right thing back there, on the street, and you've shown great courage now. The world is full of shadows, Adana, but sometimes it's a chance ray of light that makes all the difference. Thank you. He leaves. Adana is left alone. She looks at the documents with her new name, the ticket to another city. The fear of the past still lingers somewhere deep inside, but before her lies a clear, clean slate. The opportunity to start over, without flashing red lights, without the whispers of guards behind the door, just life. She takes a deep breath, and for the first time in a long time, feels not fear, but a quiet, tentative hope.